Like we mentioned, we're going to be talking to a few people, and this is regarding the recent floods up south. And we've seen, based on reports, that over 600 people, unfortunately, have lost their lives. 200,000 houses were completely or partially damaged. I will be speaking with Pastor Solomon from Kogi State, as well as Victor, who's a journalist in Bayelsa. So I'm just going to connect them to the call. Good afternoon, Pastor Solomon and Victor.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right, so Pastor Solomon is in Kogi State, and he has been very pivotal in helping those who have been badly affected by the floods, getting some of these people into his church, giving them, a roof over their heads for the time being. And Victor, who's a journalist, of course, in Bayelsa, will be giving us a situation report regarding what really is the atmosphere at the moment in Bayelsa. Pastor Solomon, we're going to start with you first. We want to say a very big thank you for what you have done in, bringing people into your church to just ensure that they have a roof over their head whilst they're trying to figure out what the next step is. I would like to know, why you decided upon this and what really the situation is at the moment in Kogi State.
Well, thank you so much for having me on this platform.
Thank you very much.
I will start by saying that, first thing first, we discovered that at the beginning of the flood invasion, a lot of our members were actually displaced, church members to be very precise. We got to discover that a lot of them couldn't attend church services anymore. So we had to swing into immediate action to see how we can help service the situation in our own little way. Unfortunately, we discovered that a lot of people, both non-members, were badly affected, and we had to, do our own bidding. So by moving them into the church, including even the other religions, nothing about it. It wasn't a religious aid, but it was just humanitarian services. So we had a lot of Muslims who are still in the church right now. Why? Because some of them slept in the night and woke up and found themselves inside the pool of water. They lost a lot of their properties, farmlands got destroyed. It was so pathetic. You could actually see 2-3-story buildings and just their roofs are up showing, So we had to just do what we can do. Bible says, love. And if we must serve him, we must show love.
Wow.
So that's the motive behind our actions.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. For now, how many people do you still have, in the church? Have people left? Are they still there?
Yeah, because the flood began to get subsided, and at the beginning we had about close to 38 of them, who were lodged in the church.
Wow.
So gradually, as the water keeps returning, we will accompany them to their houses, aid them in the cleanups, and So currently, as of yesterday, we were still about 18. Until yesterday evening, we had 6 of them who went back yesterday. So, but presently, there are still about either 12 thereabouts still in the church right now as we speak.
That's absolutely amazing. Victor, let's hear from you. What is the situation report right now in Bayelsa, especially with people who are possibly displaced? Have they been getting help? What really is going on right now?
Okay, thank you so much for having me this afternoon.
Thank you.
It's quite devastating in Bayelsa State. We naturally stay below sea level, and everything empties into Bayelsa. So right now as we speak, a lot has been destroyed by the floods. The 2 major roads that lead into Bayelsa State, one from Delta State, had been cut off. The other one from River State, Port Harcourt, has been cut off also. So Bayelsa is like it's on its own right now.
Wow.
Inside Bayelsa State, most of the roads connecting the major institution in the state, that is the state-owned university, Niger Delta University, the road had been cut off by the flood also. Then the road leading to University of Tororua, University of Africa, Tororua, that road had been cut off too by the flood. So the floods has this rippling effect on the state right now, because there's rise in prices of goods, food items. Fuel now sells at the last I checked. The fuel now sells at about 600 naira per liter in some filling stations. It's crazy down here. However, like you asked, if help has been coming in, the state government have started sending in relief materials to some parts of the state to cushion the effects of the floods. But it's actually overwhelming seeing people stranded. When the flood came initially, some parts of the state had not been affected, but there was this rain that fell on Tuesday, I guess, and that compounded to the problem. A lot of people were stranded. A lot of people have moved to some IDP camps. Some persons are using their shelter to help others. As I speak, I have some family members in my own house that I'm sheltering.
Wow.
So it's a crazy situation here.
Wow.
In Bayelsa. The governor actually addressed the state. There was a statewide address this morning, and he actually declared a 1-week break for civil servants.
Okay.
And from his speech there, he mentioned that over 1 million people have been affected, have been displaced by this flood. And you can imagine a population of, as at 2019 population figures, we're having approximately 2.4 million people in Bayelsa State. So if you have about over 1 million people being affected by the floods, that means you're talking about close to 50%
Indeed.
of the state have been affected by this disaster.
Wow, that's absolutely terrible. So Pastor Solomon, with the 38 people who you happen to house in your church, how were you able to cater to them? You know, how were they feeding? Was there any support coming your way? Was anyone making any donations to ensure that these people were feeding for the time being?
Well, we had the privilege of soliciting for help from, close allies, friends. The church did its own little bit they can, and then luckily, we also privileged to have some humanitarian services around, with some relief materials ranging from beds to mosquito nets and some foodstuffs. So we really made it more or less like a campaign where we jointly make the meal together. So the place became like a jointly prepared and served equitably to everyone that was available. So later on, we began to have some government officials dropping in with some little relief materials and food items. Those ones who went back, we still have some little food items that were, left behind. And when they were going, to start up a new life, we had to still distribute the little ones we had on ground.
Yes.
So because nothing is really ever enough for them. Because most of them are going back to start on the scratch. Some lost their property, some lost their house utensils, and a lot of things just crashed out just like that, like, the dreams of the night. This is the worst disaster of flood the state will ever experience in a long while. Like, it's going to be in our memories for a very long time. Cases of, a lot of death happenings. We had a situation where the water grew almost to the level of the high tension, the electricity tension conductor wire that carries light. So when one of the young men was in the boat, paddling the boat, and the thing was about capsizing, he wanted to, find rescue on a wire that has light in it.
Wow.
So to tell you how high the velocity of the water was.
My goodness.
And that electrocuted him to death. Oh. So we also had another case where travelers were trying to travel by the water, got to some point, and the capsized, the paddler was asked how many people were you carrying. He said just 3 because those are the ones that were rescued. Later on, we discovered 2 dead bodies and all of that. So it has been very hectic for the entire citizens of the Kogi State, and also thank God for friends and families and kind-hearted individuals who were seeing the situations and they were extending their kind gesture towards us, and that's how we've been surviving. Out of from the nose and all. It hasn't been easy, but we thank God for everything.
Thank God. But Pastor Solomon, seeing that your church, became a safe haven for these people, what's the distance between your church and the actual flood scene? Because I'm seeing that your church was not affected by this.
Yeah, we are not really badly affected just because we are on the hillside. But the distance is very, very close. Like you can stand from the church and see where the force of the water ended from the hill there. You can see the flood and the houses it took. So it's not really much of a far distance, and there is a route that connects the church and the main express road that travelers and motorists can make use of have been blocked completely by the flood. So they have to use a back road, a very long and very bad also. The road is so bad that sometimes you have hold-ups for days. Motorists will stand for hours, days, and all. Likewise in Kotunkense, the road that leads expressway, sometimes you can be on that road for 2-3 days, still standing one place at a halted position, not making any move at all. So the advantage we had is that we are on the side that links the exit of the city. So we could easily, navigate them from the face of the flood to the other side and all. So we are not that far from the flood, but we are lucky by the help of God that it didn't really come close to, it didn't take us completely. So it's not that far. It's not true. The stone throw distance.
All right, so Victor, what do you think is the next step, especially in Bayelsa State, moving forward? What next for the people that have been displaced? What next for the people that have lost their property? What do you think is next?
It's quite a confusing situation because we had experienced this in 2012. Though not as devastating as this. This will go down in history that it's the worst flood that we've ever recorded. Saying the next step, I think we need to go back to being proactive in our country. This thing was actually predicted a couple of months ago, and the question is what were the things that were done to mitigate the situation? Yeah, some persons will consider it, or most persons will consider it as a natural disaster. However, there are things that we could still do to at least manage the situation. We discovered from our investigations going around town, most of the buildings, most of the residents that built their houses on natural waterways. Most of the drains had been blocked, and there is no proper water channel where water could easily flow through. And water would always find its level. So the issue of what next to do is quite difficult for us to mention now, but I think what next to do should be the right thing. We should be proactive.
Indeed.
At properly preparing for situations like this. We live in a climate where we only react to things. We wait. We add the religious side of it and pray that it doesn't come to us. And at the end of the day, we still suffer. So I think it's for us to be proactive. I don't know if it's for us to build more dams in the country so that it could also manage this water situation. Because every time we hear they're opening a dam in Cameroon, our hearts will just skip. It should be something that we should be able to manage from our own end too, so that we don't keep suffering this way It looks like the magnitude of the floods. This is like the 10th year anniversary of the other major flood. So it's crazy that we would sit back and wait for another year, another flood will come in and still cause or wreak the same havoc or worse havoc. A lot of deaths have been recorded in this flood. A lot of properties have been destroyed. A lot of people don't even know what to do next.
Yes.
You go to the markets, prices have skyrocketed. You cannot even afford normal things again. So it's difficult for me to say, okay, this is what we should do next. It's quite confusing. Some persons are quite privileged, but the majority of the population is actually not finding it easy at all.
Wow. It's such a sad situation that we found ourselves in. Hopefully we have more measures put in place to not only mitigate the current situation, but to prevent that which could be possibly a disaster in the nearest future. Pastor Solomon, I would like to know the name of your church, and if people who are listening right now would like to maybe support one way or the other for the rest of those that you're still housing, how can that be possible?
Okay, the name of the church is Flaming Sword Assembly. It's in Ganaja, in Lokoja district.
Sorry, say that again. What's the name?
Flaming Sword Assembly.
Flaming Sword Assembly. Okay.
Yes. It's in Ganaja, Lokoja district.
Okay. So for those who want to, is there a number that they could call if they want to support in any way?
Sure, definitely. They can reach us on 080 386 79186. I take that again. 080 386 79186.
All right. Thank you so much, Pastor Solomon, for your humanitarian work and just spreading the love of God beyond just preaching a sermon, to just show people, be them Christians, Muslims, traditionalists, that indeed, there are people who actually do care about them. Victor, is there anyone or is there any place where, some relief materials are being, sent to? In case people want to help out those that are in Bayelsa at the moment, how can they do that?
Okay, I know the Bayelsa state government has actually sent some relief materials to some IDPs camp. However, if we should route anything from outside, we could route it through the Rotary clubs, District 9141. In Bayelsa State, because I know they're also making plans to reach out to people.
All right. So the Rotary Club in Bayelsa District, yes. What did you call that district?
District 9141. You could route it through the Rotary Club of Oxbow Lake. I can get that number out. Let me just get the number out now. Just hold on.
Okay. All right, in case you're just listening, I have two individuals that I'm speaking to, Pastor Solomon from Kogi State and Victor, who's a journalist in Bayelsa.
The number is ready.
Okay, carry on.
Okay, the number is 0803.
Okay.
542.
Okay.
9528.
All right, please go over that again.
I take it again.
Okay.
0803. 542 9528. That's the number of the president of the Rotary Club of Oxbow Lake in Bayelsa State.
So for Bayelsa State. All right, Victor from Bayelsa and Pastor Solomon from Kogi State, I really do appreciate you taking out time to speak with us about the current situation that is going on in your respective states regarding the floods that have ravaged certain parts of your state, displacing people and taking the lives of people as well. Thank you so much for your support for those who you've been able to reach out to as well to help out, who have been victims of the current flood. I really do appreciate it. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right.